Peace and welcome to my 9-month and 10-day check-in with No Nicotine. I'm still in Taiwan. I'm going to be making this 9-month and 10-day check-in, and I'm going to be talking about, spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Some tips on how I kind of get through things. And so spiritually, I always rise to the circumstance. I never allow the external to stamper my spirit or to take the wind out of my sails, for figure of speech. Always use spiritual discernment to be able to tell if you are on the right path or not, whether or not it resonates with your soul. This is important when talking about, substance use, because with nicotine specifically, you can get carried away, and I've talked about before on my channel how you can get spiritually drained by these things. So if you feel drained, check in with yourself spiritually. When I was using nicotine, I hadn't realized that, all the time that had gone by, that was actually kind of building up more and more and supporting my, power being taken from me. Even though I knew I still had the choice, I subconsciously, I'd go as far to say that spiritually, I was not in my power, because I wasn't even in control. I was just doing it without even thinking about it, right? Without even second questioning. And that's not using your spiritual discernment. Using your spiritual discernment should be putting you on your spiritual path, not putting you somewhere where you're actually not infiltrated, but not confiscated, but the word is, I guess, it's kind of blanking on me right now, but it's so that you're not having your spiritual power controlled or overtaken by anything else. So remember your own spiritual path. This will be important when you stop nicotine, because you have to realize that you're always on a path, right? And if you're not resonating with your path while you're on nicotine, and you feel spiritually drained, or you feel spiritually lesser, or you feel as if you don't have your spiritual power, you feel as if you're drained, then check in spiritually with yourself. Use spiritual discernment and use that intuition to be able to guide yourself into the right path. As well as soon as you do decide to stop nicotine, you will feel a sense of spiritual freedom, because no longer are you giving up your power towards a physical substance that you're deriving fulfillment out of. So the moment that you abstain from nicotine, the moment that you stop using nicotine, you'll feel a sense of spiritual freedom. And mentally, mental stability is important. When I was addicted to nicotine, my mental stability was actually dependent on my nicotine addiction. I talked about this in videos before, but I viewed it as if mentally I needed nicotine to be stable mentally. But now that I've stopped, and after 9 months and nine months and 10 days without nicotine, come to realize that mentally that could not be any farther from the truth. soon as I abstained from nicotine, the mental pressure, the mental stress that I was carrying from my nicotine addiction, it subsided. Like I said, don't allow anything to control you mentally. There's always a way to kind of improve your mental state of being if it's not where you want it to be. For example, when I was a nicotine user, like I just said, I was dependent on nicotine to mentally deal with thoughts, to mentally deal with stress throughout the day. So as soon as I stopped, I was able to, restore my mental stability. And I believe that mentally, there is a sense of mental freedom that was gained through stopping nicotine. It helped me to dial in my mental state, even though, they say that nicotine is nootropic, it's good for learning, or good for certain things having to do with the mental state. But personally, after doing nicotine for 5.5, almost 6 years, I came to realize that, it was actually having a mental toll on me because, in the physical and in my daily life, I was constantly mentally thinking about nicotine, and I already think enough as it is. I'm a thinker, and having those thoughts just made me think even more. So that didn't allow for me to, physically be present, just to simply get over my mental stress, get over anything that was a mental obstacle, and then to mentally detach is the main reason why I used it. But you can still mentally detach on your own. You don't need nicotine. You don't need a substance to mentally detach. Like right now, you could say I'm mentally present, but mentally I'm also kind of detached because I'm not focused on anything else. So I'm detached in that way. But then I'm also mentally focused on my stream of thought right now, making this video right now. So that's just mentally, why I think that it's a benefit to take a break from nicotine, a benefit to quite possibly, and I mean absolutely, work towards eliminating nicotine from your cycle or from your reality, because, well, what if that's holding you back? What if it's holding you back mentally from applying yourself to other things? What if it's holding you back mentally from growing mentally? I'm sure everyone knows those people who, they might even be older than you. They might act, spiritually immature, or mentally immature, or physically immature, or emotionally immature. Well, do you want to end up like that? Ask yourself if you want to end up like some of these people, because these people did not take the time to grow. And not that I am saying that they're wrong, because each to each their own. So there's no judgment there, but it's seeing it for what it is, and it's seeing it at the perspective of, you don't want to be in an immature and non-growth way, because you guys know those people that, they might be older than you, but they don't act like it. And it's totally fine to act younger than you are, or to be kind of youthful or anything like that. But it's about the reality of it. And if you start to mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually hinder others just because your inability to grow, then I think that falls on you. And a lot of times these individuals want nothing to do with that, especially nothing to do with even entertaining the fact that you can grow in these states of being. But that's just something to keep in mind, that, allow for mental growth. Allow yourself to, like I said, have new thoughts, and also to move on from the same mental cycles that you've been in, the same spiritual, physical, and emotional cycles that you've been in continuously for X amount of time. Break free from these. Break free from these, and you'll experience some sense of freedom out of that. Physically, being dependent on nicotine is not ideal, primarily because you are damaging the vessel at a rate that is more than regular, more than non-smokers. So really think about how you interact with the physical and the repercussions that your actions have, and what's going to happen with, or what you're getting out of how you're interacting with the physical world. Physically, know that you can maintain physical pleasure without being abusive, and also destructive through your habits. You can create better habits for yourself that are not destructive, and that kind of push you forward and allow you to physically grow. When are you ever going to be content or okay with worsening your physical health just at a faster rate and in a quantity that is very large when you are using nicotine, for example, but any other substance? And I believe that you are entitled to do whatever you want. You're responsible for your own actions. I just encourage and I remind you that you should be aware of your actions, no matter what your perspective on life is, or whatever, no matter what your perspective in life is on it. There's people that they don't care, as within, as without, so within, and as within, so without. Really, it's as within, so without. So these people that you see, maybe on social media or whatnot, that are constantly partying, every weekend, really every night. It's a new thing. There's a new post on stories, and there's new posts about partying, and they'll have some corny caption, right? And if that's how you are internally, that's how you are internally. That's why outside, so as within, so without, that is why you are where you are. And that is a reflection of your internal state of being. And you kind of feel bad for these people, but at the same time, it is up to themselves to take power and control over their life, and to not just always go with the crowd just because that's what's cool, or that's what's socially acceptable. It's the culture, or any of these things. So a lot of these people are just not even paying attention to how they treat their body or how they treat their vessel. And this is physically, how do you think that's going to make you feel emotionally in the long run? You don't want to feel very low after these benders or these times of trying to fit in or times of being destructive and abusive, that's not going to allow you to spiritually grow. It's not going to allow you to mentally grow. It's not going to allow you to physically or emotionally grow. All that's going to do is keep you content, keep you in the same spot you've ever been in, and good luck with that, right? Good luck with the non-growth mindset. Good luck with the non-growth spiritual system. Good luck with the non-growth physical vessel and the non-growth attitude towards creating the life that you want. And good luck with that emotional immaturity and the emotional dependence that you'll have on others, and the emotional dependence that you have on certain actions that you partake in. So I just bring that example up with these people that I know many of them. I'm sure you guys know many of them. I'm sure if you are yourself, you know that even better. So this is a reminder to not click out of this video and say, oh, don't listen to what he has to say. This is my perspective, and I'm sharing this perspective with you to hopefully be able to help. And that example is brought up because I want to express that you should be aware of your actions and be aware of how you interact with the physical realm. So this kind of ties into what I was just on. Emotionally balance yourself first before you even go out there and you interact with others, you interact with the world. Balance yourself, because you're gonna go out there and like I said, physically, if you're abusing your body, you don't care about what you're doing with your body. Okay, like I said, I'm actually gonna go back to physically, then I'm gonna go back to emotionally, and then I'll finish out this video. So as I was talking about, as within, so without, and as without, so within, it's to say that, what do you think these people, even if, no matter how they look on the outside, there's always more than what is seen. There's always something more going on than what you can see with the eye. Of course, there's a lot to be learned with what you can see and what you can hear, all your senses, your physical senses, but there's much more than that. So really take into account how your actions are affecting, your states of being, your state of being, your balance, as well as it's a reflection of how you are on the inside, it's a reflection of how you are on the outside. And it just goes to show, look at these people's actions. I'm talking about physically, so we can really look at people's actions, and you can really see that in today's times that people have, not everyone, but a large majority of people have not cared. And for them, they have the perspective, maybe they don't even think this far, of they're just enjoying themselves, they're having fun, they're gonna do whatever they want, and that's completely up to themselves. But they're not taking into account that they don't own their body. You didn't purchase your body. You didn't, it belongs to the world. It belongs to Earth. And how you treat your body is a reflection of your spiritual, mental, and emotional states of being. How do you think God looks at that? As someone who constantly abuses their body, who constantly is involved in self-deprecating or self-deceiving, self-destructive, self-abusive activities, and you put a mirror in front of them and they don't want to see it. They don't want to see it. Whether they look at it as this is what they're doing in the meantime, this is what they're doing for a long period of time, they're not even being aware. And as much as it's, try not to get involved, but as much as you can see how unsettling that can be, you know, I've done that kind of stuff. I've been there, I've done that, and glad to not be involved in that kind of stuff. And now that I've taken this backseat, not backseat, but I've taken this different path. I've taken the front seat of my life, taking control. So I'm on the wheel right now, you know? I'm on the wheel. I'm in control of this bus. I'm in control of this spaceship. Whereas I'm not, whereas I can see it for what it is. At the same time, these beings continuously interact with the world in that way, and it's gonna show. It's gonna reflect spiritually. Your physical actions are gonna reflect emotionally. Your physical actions are gonna show mentally. And I think I already said spiritually, and then physically. You guys know how your physical interactions with the world are shown on the body, are expressed on the physical vessel. So that's physically. Be aware of what you guys are doing. For anyone out there that feels like this is the way they are, they resonate with their self-destructive, self-abusive behaviors, I encourage you to do some serious soul searching. Do some serious mental test, what is it? Throw around mentally to find out if you're not stable mentally, then you know why. So physically, like I said, take care of the vessel as best as you can, if that's important to you. If it's not important to you, then that's gonna show. But that's up to you, to each their own. To each their own. Emotionally, so emotionally balance yourself. Before you even interact with others, before you even interact with the world, of course you can interact with the world and you can interact with others to gain experience, to then be able to learn, but it's important to know that emotional balance starts with the self, and then you can bring that emotional state of being around others, and you won't affect them. You know, you're not going to be some toxic individual that's emotionally, throwing their emotions on people, which is just terrible to see. That's self-projecting your emotional state onto others, which is the most common, it's almost rooted for, or it's almost backed and supported by the common demon in today's times, and the common culture, and what is socially accepted to affect others emotionally, primarily off how you feel emotionally, and that it should never happen. You should never, ever affect others just because you are emotionally down. You take care of that. You balance that. You deal with that yourself before you bring that to other people, before you make that problem for the world, or before you make problems for others. If you have negative emotions, be aware of it, and then deal with it. Sort through it. Find that balance, because these people aren't going to want to be around you for long. I know it seems as if everyone's friends for now, but if you're surrounded, if you're toxic emotionally, then you can make others emotionally, and you're going to start to affect emotions of others, and that's not good to have on your karma. So, like I said, anyone who is struggling emotionally, and like I said, it may be, we're all friends here, but if you're constantly throwing around emotional baggage and toxic emotions, who's gonna want to be around that, honestly? And the longer it goes on, how are you gonna break free? Of course, no matter what, you can break free and you can experience emotional freedom from those baggage emotions or those low resonating emotions. You can start, change your actions, and emotionally turn a new page. Emotionally restore that balance that you can achieve. You can achieve that emotional balance and not be so dependent on a lifestyle that is self-destructive, self-abusive, and start to move on to better things, move on to bigger things, move on to things that are, more fulfilling your spiritual path, your mental path, your physical and emotional path. So this is just a video. Keep these things in mind. Anyone out there struggling with anything, this is a great video for you to kind of stay balanced in these states of beings. And if you don't know why you are where you are, then I'd say to check in. Any of you guys, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, go ahead and let me know. I'd love to know. So that's going to be it for the 9-month and 10-day check-in with No Nicotine. And before I end the video, I want to talk about how physically, when I used to do nicotine, I would always be somewhat physically worried about what my repercussions or what I was gonna get out of this, and how would this affect me in the long term. Whereas now, once I've stopped using physically, I can be around smokers, I can be around people vaping, I can be around nicotine, and even if it's secondhand, it's not gonna affect me. So that just says physically. And then emotionally, whereas when I used to be addicted to nicotine, I kept building a dependence on it where it's the only thing that made me feel good, or the thing that made me feel most good. Whereas now I realize that was never the case. It was primarily a delusion. It was primarily me wanting to stay stagnant and not move on. But yeah, that's going to be it for the 9-month and 10-day check-in. Peace.